Now Dave has Elevate on the screen, and we're looking for volunteers, etc., for Elevate. All right, so we are looking for volunteers for Elevate, and Elevate is a literacy program where we're teaching children to read, and that is some of what you see that's happening there at in Bel Air, St. Philip. Okay. And that's somebody from the community that came in, and she's working with a little girl who is in class 2. And so we continue to ask you to get involved. Yes. Okay. Oh, Matthew, so sorry about that. Matthew misses his dad. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Somebody said they come to hear about the central bank. We will. We're going to get there towards the end of the show, right? We're going to get there. We're going to get there. All right. But as we're talking about, on the screen, you're seeing the pictures of what's happening at this community literacy program that has started, called Elevate, that we, the citizens, have started it in Bel Air, St. Philip, and also in Collin in St. Michael. I want to talk about the World Bank report. How many of you saw that? The World Bank report. If you read the World Bank report, or you know about the World Bank report, let me see your hand up, please. Let's put up a hand. Over the last few days, many of us, we would have seen the headline in the Sunday Sun that said failing grade. The article is based on a World Bank report which says that Barbados' education system is at a critical juncture. And the report is very damning, I tell you. The report points to concerns about literacy, numeracy, educational outcomes, inequalities within the system, and particularly the high number of students repeating fifth form. According to the report, approximately 22% of students repeat fifth form. And the World Bank estimates that repetition consumes between, according to them, 1.2 and 1.5% of education budget each year. So you know where they're going with this. They're saying the repeating of fifth form is consuming 1.2 to 1.5% of the education budget each year. Now, we have some important questions that we need to raise. If children are leaving primary school without strong reading and mathematical skills, we need to know why. If students are reaching secondary school already behind, we need to know why. If large numbers of young people are leaving school without qualifications, we need to know why. Those are legitimate questions, which I think is what's happening with the repeating, because some of these schools, if they don't allow the students to repeat, they're going to leave without any qualifications. Why is that? What is going on? You see, though the report, we understand what the report is saying and we accept it. Okay, this is what the World Bank that they have found, and they have found that it's a significant cost. You see, but education in Barbados has never just been about dollars and cents. Never. Which is why you have free education, which some other Caribbean countries do not have that. I know that, I'm not sure if the World Bank knows that education is really what built modern Barbados, Would you agree with that? Because education created opportunities for thousands of ordinary Barbadians. Education helped create the middle class. So, can you imagine if education was about dollars and cents? What would happen to the middle class? Education gave children from humble communities an opportunity to become teachers, You know that. Look at your family: teachers, nurses, accountants, lawyers, business owners, and leaders. So while the report asks what it costs to keep a student in school for another year, perhaps as Barbadians, we should ask, what does it cost when that student leaves school unable to read properly? I need to say that again. The World Bank is calculating what it costs to keep that fifth form student in school for another year. Possibly the question that Barbados should really be asking is, what does it cost when that student leaves school unable to read properly? What does it cost when that student cannot find meaningful employment? Or what does it cost when that student becomes disconnected from society? What does it cost when educational failure contributes to unemployment, hopelessness, and crime? I happen to believe those costs matter too. Do you? It's not just a financial cost, but it's a social cost. Another question that I think that we need to ask Barbadians surrounding this fifth form repetition. At some schools in Barbados, a repeat year is not simply about sitting in the same classroom and you're doing the same work again. You have schools like St. George Secondary. I'm told that some of these students receive additional support, like skills training, work exposure, and they get more time to mature and prepare for adulthood, especially boys, because especially our boys, they mature a little later than our girls. So the question then, my other question become, are we measuring the true value of that additional year? If I could talk to the World Bank, if I had a seat at the table with the World Bank, I would ask, are we measuring the true value of the additional year? Or are we only measuring the financial cost? Yeah. These are some of the things that we have to look at, and we're just doing this on the radar. We're touching on it because the report also state that student enrollment has declined while teachers' numbers have increased. So are they saying that Barbados have too many teachers? I think some of us who I'm not in the teaching system, in the education system in that sense. I offer lessons and so on. But it seems to me, well, as you talk with the students, that there seems to be a shortage more in areas like mathematics, science, technical and vocational education, and special needs. So I was a little bit confused about that. It didn't resonate with me that we have more teachers than students. Because when you talk to a lot of the parents and some of the educators, they will tell you that there are still subject areas that where qualified teachers are difficult to find. Sometimes students will tell me, ma'am, I have not had a geography teacher in so long. Yeah. So these are just some questions we want to talk. Not about, it's not politics, it's about the future of our children. Whoever was in power, we would still need to speak about this World Bank report. And we're only mentioning it tonight. We have to get deeper in it another night. This is about, we're talking about our future workforce, the future of Barbados, right? So we're going to be launching a series of discussion. And hopefully if you're a past educator and you want to be on the show, let us know. We want to talk with former principals and former administrators, or you're an education administrator, you're a parent, you're a former policymaker. I know if you're a current policymaker, you're not going to want to come on because some of you are afraid that you might lose your jobs because of the climate that we're in. Yeah. And the reason we're doing this series is that we believe that before we decide what changes we need to make to education, we must first understand what education has meant to Barbados, what it means today, and what we need it to become tomorrow. So I want you to stay with the Marcia Week Show. We've already had the series worked out. We need we need those who were former educators, former principals, former education administrators, former policymakers to join us on a panel, and we will take the whole summer to deal with this. Okay. Well, we are going to move right into our next segment tonight. And again, just before he comes to us, I'm going to kindly ask you to like and share. Go ahead and like and share. This is a valuable information that could save a life. And this is coming out of our health corner. We're calling it our health corner. And it's none other than Mr. Maurice Gaskin. Good night, Mr. Gaskin. Please undo your mic. Unmute your mic, please.
Good evening, Marcia. Good evening to all viewers, all listeners. I'm very happy to be on again. I'm very pleased with the persons who have met me and say they really enjoyed the show. But is it possible you could permit me just before going to the lecture on rodents to speak about the education just for about 2 minutes?
Of course, and because you did that, I want to ask you publicly that when we are ready to assemble the panel, we're doing a 10-week panel discussion on this. I'm going to ask you to be part of it because I could tell that this is a strong point for you. But go right ahead.
Listen, I went to school at LSE School between 1968 and 1974, and that class had about 30 very intelligent students.
Yes, sir.
And I used to come around 25th out of 30 because I had no electricity at home.
Oh, wow.
So I had to come home before the sun go down to do my homework. And if I come home and did the homework after 5 o'clock, I had to use a lamp. And the lamp used to soot. And I had to, when it's hot, had to let it cool down and clean it. So I could not compete with persons who had electricity, and my house did not even have water. I had to go to the standpipe to bring water.
Yes,
so
sir.
I could not compete. So what I'm saying is that we have to look at, there's some, as an environmental health officer going around at houses and so on, we have seen some things that will shock you. And we have to look deeper as to the reason why these persons are repeating fifth form. I'm happy to say that I came out and I said, well, I was in a very good class. I saw a motto at the Milton Lake School which said, we build the ladder by which we rise.
I love that.
Yes, we build a ladder by which we rise. And he said, you know what? I went to a school, was in a very bright farm competing. Don't let me stop at the bottom. And I'm happy to say that you mentioned I should consider teaching. So I'm happy to say that leaving RZ school without any certification, I went on to the Barbados Community College. I went there 4 times. I went to E.M.M.A. I went to the University of the West Indies. Actually, I went to all 3 in 1 year, E.M.M.A., University of West Indies, and Community College in 1 year.
Yes.
I also studied at the Pedro Corey Institute in Havana, in Cuba. I also studied at the School for Parasitic Diseases in China, and also the Vector Control Unit in Martinique. I have trained over 500 Ross University medical students. I have trained over 225 UWI students from the UWI that work at the hospital and elsewhere. And I've also trained over 250 nurses associated with the Barbados Community College. So what I'm saying is you don't have to remain down there. You go on, you advance, you look at where you came from, and I'll be happy to be part of the panel. And my first job, I was a general worker, and I started at $40 per week making mattresses. And when I leave the public service, I was actually working for $40 per hour.
Wow. So you took that ladder. You took that ladder.
We build the ladder by which we rise.
You build. Wow. I like that. Was that a motto for the school?
It's at the Milton Lynch School. We build the ladder by which we rise.
Wow. I love that.
Yes.
I'm writing it down.
Right. Right. So I've done a lot of teaching. Actually, I'm retired now, and one of the things that I miss is teaching. So I'm very happy that you have invited me to come and share my knowledge and teach here.